Hello, denizens of the internet. Yes, I'm coming late to this review of Godzilla minus one. It finally came out to the regular screens this week, and boy, was I happy to see this surprising adventure. Godzilla minus one is just the most amazing movie I've seen in a god awful long time. I could not stop weeping at the end. Go see it. But the main reason I wanted to write about it was because, well, it's a masterclass on how to write a compelling script. Writer director Akashi Yamazaki made me believe in the plight of the humans, even though I'm not a kid, and yet every sinew of this cynical adult soul was afraid of what this Godzilla might do to the characters I grew to know and love. The elements of a good script are pretty much always the same: compelling characters, relationships, significant obstacles or impediments, and a goal that pushes the main character or characters to their limit, and of course, wrapped in a good story. The goal does not have to be to defeat a 40-foot fire breathing monster. It could be a personal monster. In the German movie Mostly Martha, it was about a brilliant, driven, emotionally broken chef who demanded perfection from her staff but could not connect with her young daughter. Martha was the monster. My gosh. Okay, so where do I start? I hate movies with the obligatory 15-minute let's meet the characters before the plot kicks in opening. Godzilla minus one starts with a bang. World War II Japanese plane lands on island runway. I can tell it's a Zero kamikaze. What's it doing landing? It is revealed quickly enough as the head mechanic Takibana on this island dedicated to fixing Japanese warplanes comes over to the main character, Koichi, and knowingly tells him, hey, dude, your plane is fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's the end of the war. Abandoning the mission, Koichi did not die with honor, as was expected of a kamikaze pilot. Koichi is racked with guilt right from the start, but he does not have long to feel sorry for himself as a relatively small, 30-foot Godzilla comes out of the ocean, attacks all the men. Takibana screams at Koichi to use the 40-millimeter guns on his plane, but Koichi freezes, but jumps out in time for Godzilla to smash his plane. He wakes up on the ground in the morning to find all the men on the island dead, except for a limping Takibana, who's collecting the bodies. He screams at the worthless Koichi, tells him that all these men are dead because of him. On the troop carrier back to the mainland, adding insult to injury, Takibana throws a packet of family pictures belonging to all the dead at Koichi. This is an important setup for later. In this short opening, we learn about Koichi's hero's journey. The pit he must dig himself out from is deep. And more importantly, he created this for himself. Yes, Japanese cultural norms weigh heavy on him. He had a duty to perform, but these were his decisions. We get a taste of Godzilla and its horrific nature. No blood spewing from headless bodies, but it's brutal and loud. When Koichi gets to his parents' destroyed home, the whole village is just an impossible wreck. His parents are dead, but the next door neighbor, who also lost all her family, rushes out at the sight of Koichi. She's just furious with him for not dying as a true kamikaze pilot should have. Yeah, sure, make him feel even worse. There's a racket as a girl with a baby is running away from people yelling, "Stop, thief!" Sorry, this is a subtitled movie. Let's do this right. "Stop, thief!" There, that's better. Koichi shares his ramshackle home, tiny home, with Noriko, who happens to be taking care of a baby, Akiko, whose parents were also killed. Three orphaned people together. A simple but powerful setup. We have Koichi forced into a situation he doesn't want to be in because he wants to be alone to feel sorry for himself. A girl with no home taking care of a baby she does not know how to take care of. Living with a strange man. Into this, the scowling next door neighbor decides to help them with the baby. No one has any money. By this time, you're into the characters and understand Japan's dire humanitarian crisis. Of course, Koichi and Noriko are going to become an item. I want them to become an item, but the director, the bastard that he is, will hold off on this until the last possible moment. Koichi gets a job on a mine-clearing ship, which infuriates Noriko because she likes him. Now we get to meet up with the second family we're going to fall in love with on a wooden minesweeper. Okay, so we have Noda, the smart guy with the big hair, Akitsu, and Mizushima. And here's the next thing that makes this movie work. Because it's set in World War II, with a Japan able to muster few resources, the gear porn is of the time. Glass-covered dials with needles, electricity, batteries, rusted metal, cables everywhere, faded paint, mines, ships belching diesel smoke. We get a hint that Godzilla is vulnerable when the crew manage to explode a mine in his mouth during a desperate and exciting scene. It takes severe damage, but the damn thing can heal itself. That's our next big setup. I won't go through the movie blow by blow, but Godzilla lands in the Ginza district of Tokyo, and the destruction and death are mammoth and brutal and loud. There were a ton of extras in this movie, and Yamazaki did not waste the opportunity. Of course, it was set up earlier that Noriko got a job in Ginza, of all places. We saw her cleaned up in a tailored suit, and we could finally see how beautiful she was and how proud she was to get a job. After surviving Godzilla's attack on the train that she was in by the skin of her teeth, she encounters Koichi, who saves her from the rampaging creature, only to have Noriko push Koichi into an alleyway just in time to safety, as she is literally blown off into the distance. That moment took my breath away, as I did not expect Noriko to be killed. Koichi is filled with rage, and here he decides that Godzilla must die. Two things happen here. A plan is hatched to kill Godzilla that is clever and uses the technology of the time. Secondly, it requires Koichi to get back into an airplane to lure the monster into the deepest bay. All warplanes have been decommissioned, of course, because Japan had lost, but one experimental plane remains, but it is in rough shape. Koichi contacts the best mechanic he knows, of course it's Takibana, to fix it. When he arrives, we recognize his arrival because he is limping and then proceeds to beat the shit out of Koichi. I won't get into the details, but the hatred is deep, but his love for Japan is greater, and he agrees to repair the craft. He also agrees to Koichi's demand to remove a gas tank and replace it with one heck of a monster of a bomb. Koichi is going to execute the kamikaze mission he failed to do at the start of the movie. Now, I'm going, hey, you don't have to. I've really grown to love you. I think it's Akitsu who, when he finds out Koichi's plan, screams at him on the radio, how dare he abandon Akiko. We're all set up for the big finish. Noda's crazy plan, all the ships in the bay ready to execute it, but Godzilla surprises everyone and arrives early, making landfall. A nice, tension ratcheting touch. Koichi comes out of nowhere and buzzes it in his plane and lures him out into the deep bay. Godzilla manages to fire off one of his massive fire blasts, kind of as a reminder, and we're told it will take him time to reload. Noda's plan is executed. It works, but does not kill Godzilla. He rises to the surface and prepares for another devastating fire blast. Just as the beast opens his mouth, Koichi flies straight for it. The characters we have bonded with are screaming, knowing what Koichi is doing. The movie turns soundless at this point. We look on in horror. The sound comes back on just as his plane smashes into Godzilla's mouth and explodes with a massive fury removing his head. He slowly sinks into the bay. The men don't know whether to cheer or cry. I'm sobbing at this point. But then we all see a parachute coming down with Koichi. Now I'm crying because I'm happy. We cut to Takibana listening at a radio, hearing that the mission was successful and Koichi is alive. He is thrilled. We go to a cutscene with Takibana showing Koichi the button for the seat ejector. The man who hated Koichi the most, who wanted him dead, saved his life. That's the overview. And there are so many nice touches. The distrust of the government, the realization of the futility of the war, the hubris and arrogance of Japan was broken. Many tiny performances shone brightly. This followed the beats of a classic melodrama and the potential cheesiness of a Godzilla movie, but it worked because you believed the predicament and the stakes, and you had actors who could sell it. The direction was bloody brilliant. We understood Godzilla's power by simply seeing a very large ship getting tossed across the screen from off camera like a toy. The carnage of the buildings, truck-sized shrapnel, the fire breath that required both a warm-up and a cool-down period to work, a believable plot device. Godzilla used it to vaporize a huge Japanese destroyer that had come to rescue them. And even in that short amount of time, Yamazaki showed us the faces of the men on board in their Navy uniforms, proud, worried, happy, then screaming for their lives. It's a brilliant moment of, did we get Godzilla? No, we did not. Yes, we got him. Oh, hell no, you did not. I can't recommend this movie highly enough. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.